Chosen one, this is no coincidence. If you're seeing this right now, it's because the soul contract you signed before birth is beginning to activate. You're stepping into a season of remembrance, a shift from confusion and survival to clarity, purpose, and divine alignment. Everything is starting to make sense because your spirit is finally waking up to the mission you agreed to long ago. Have you ever wondered why you went through so much pain? Why your life felt harder than others? Why you always felt different, misunderstood, or like you didn't belong here? It's because you don't fully belong here. You're a chosen one, and before you were born into this world, your soul signed a contract, a sacred agreement to come here with a purpose greater than comfort, popularity, or ease. This soul contract holds the blueprint of your life. It explains your struggles, your gifts, your isolation, and your power. And now, as the world shifts and awakens, your soul contract is activating. That's why everything is starting to make sense. Let's break this down into 7 powerful, relatable chapters so you can understand your journey and finally remember why you're really here. Before we dive deep, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, because this isn't just a video, it's a divine activation for the chosen ones. If your spirit resonates with this truth, type 77 in the comments right now. That number isn't random. It's a divine signal to the Most High and the universe that your soul remembers, that you're awake, aligned, and ready to walk fully in your purpose. Not everyone is meant to receive this. Only those truly chosen will stay until the end. And those who do will feel something unlock: clarity, memory, power. Each word is encoded with revelation meant specifically for your path. This isn't something you hear once and move on from. It's living wisdom. Let your soul lead. Rewatch it as often as you're called, because every time you do, another piece of your soul contract will unfold. Now, let's dive in. Chapter 1. Before you were born, you chose this. Before you ever opened your eyes to this world, before your heart began to beat inside your chest, you were something far greater than a body. You were a soul, timeless, aware, and full of purpose. You existed in a place without clocks, without pressure, without fear. And from that place you saw Earth. You saw the chaos. You saw the pain. You saw the confusion, the division, and the rising darkness. And you said, yes. You said, I'll go. You chose this life. You chose this timeline. You chose this family, this culture, this generation. You weren't forced into this. It wasn't a mistake or some cosmic accident. It was a conscious choice made with clarity and strength. Not because you wanted to suffer, but because you knew what this life would shape in you. You knew what it would require, and you knew what it would awaken. You didn't come here to run away from the world. You came here to meet it, face to face, to feel it deeply, and to transform it from the inside out. You didn't come here to be another voice in the crowd. You came to stand for something. You came to wake up while others were still asleep. You came to remember your light when everything around you tried to make you forget. You signed a soul contract, not with words, but with knowing. It was an agreement made on the deepest level, that you would forget who you were, that you would experience loss, that people would hurt you, that you would face moments of silence, loneliness, heartbreak, and confusion, that you would be misunderstood, doubted, ignored, that sometimes you'd even doubt yourself. But you also knew that all of this would serve a purpose. You knew that every single challenge would be the fire that purified you. You knew that every breakdown would lead to a breakthrough. You knew that every time you were pushed to your limit, something ancient inside you would rise up, stronger, wiser, more real than before. You came into this life with power buried beneath your pain. And that power wasn't something you had to earn, it was something you had to remember. The world would try to make you forget the noise, the trauma, the distractions. They would try to drown out that inner voice. But it would still be there, waiting, quiet but steady, faint but constant. And in your darkest moments, it would speak again. It would whisper, "Keep going. You're here for a reason." The truth is, your soul didn't sign up for an easy life. It signed up for a meaningful one. You didn't come here to float along, untouched. You came here to dive deep, to feel fully, to grow in ways most people will never understand. You came here to break patterns that have lasted generations, to heal wounds you didn't cause, to shine light into spaces that have been dark for far too long. And that kind of work, that kind of mission, takes a special kind of soul, a soul that can handle the pressure, a soul that doesn't back down just because it's uncomfortable, a soul that says, "I'll carry this weight, not because I have to, but because I was built for it." So if you've ever felt like you didn't belong, like this world wasn't quite home, it's because your soul remembers where it came from. And if you've ever felt like your path was harder than most, it's because you're walking with purpose. You're not lost. You're not broken. You're becoming. And no matter how heavy it gets, you have to remember, this is the life you chose, not to suffer forever, but to rise through the suffering, not to stay wounded, but to become wise, not to dim your light, but to discover how bright it can truly shine. Chapter 2. The Early Pain. Was activation from the very beginning? Life didn't feel easy. While others seemed to move through childhood with ease, you felt the weight of something deeper, something you couldn't explain. Maybe it was the way you were treated, or the way you felt invisible, even in a room full of people. Maybe it was the silence that surrounded you at home, the chaos that echoed through the walls, or the way your heart always seemed to carry more than it should have. You might have been raised in a house where love was conditional, where attention was scarce, or where no one ever truly saw you for who you were. Maybe you were the one always trying to keep the peace, holding back your tears so no one else would feel uncomfortable. Or maybe you were the one always told you were too sensitive, too different, or too much. That early pain didn't just hurt, it shaped you. It made you question your worth, your voice, even your place in this world. But what you didn't realize then was that every one of those painful moments wasn't random. They were part of the path. The soul contract you made before you were born included this. It included the tears you cried behind closed doors. It included the confusion, the rejection, and the moments when you wondered why life felt so heavy so soon. That pain was never meant to break you. It was meant to activate you. You see, awakening doesn't come from comfort. It doesn't happen when everything goes right. It happens when everything feels wrong and something inside you refuses to stay asleep. It happens when the world turns its back on you and you have to decide whether you'll turn your back on yourself or rise up anyway. That feeling of being different from the start wasn't a flaw. It was a clue. The reason you felt like the black sheep wasn't because something was wrong with you. It was because something was right with you. You weren't meant to fit into systems that were never built with your spirit in mind. You weren't designed to follow paths that only led to numbness. You came into this life to break molds, to disrupt patterns, to awaken at a time when most people are still asleep. But in order to carry that level of awareness, you had to be forged in something real. You had to be tested, not to punish you, but to prepare you. That loneliness you felt? It taught you how to stand alone in truth. That rejection you experienced? It cleared out the noise so you could hear your own soul. That feeling of not belonging, it was pointing you toward the truth, that you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out, not from a place of ego or pride, but because you carry something this world needs. You carry depth in a shallow time. You carry love in a cold world. You carry light in a place that's forgotten what light even looks like. And the only way to truly embody that was to walk through the very shadows you were born to overcome. The early pain was the opening. It cracked your heart wide enough for truth to enter. It humbled you. It stretched you. It showed you how fragile life can be and how strong you really are. That pain lit a fire in you, and maybe you tried to hide it for a while. Maybe you tried to fit in, to shrink, to play small, to deny the pull you felt inside. But the fire never went out. It was always there, waiting for the moment you'd stop running and finally turn inward. You weren't born to follow, you were born to remember, and every challenge in those early years was a wake-up call, not to who you were told to be, but to who you've always been, deep down. Chapter 3. Isolation was your training ground. At some point, the separation became impossible to ignore. People you thought would always be there began to fall away, leaving spaces where they once stood. It didn't happen all at once, but over time you noticed the gaps. Friends drifted, relationships faded. The familiar faces you once turned to for comfort were no longer there. You started to feel different, disconnected from the world around you. You began to wonder if something was wrong with you. It wasn't just loneliness. It was isolation, the kind that's sharp, deep, and soul-stirring. It's the kind of isolation that makes you question your worth and your place in the world. You'd look around and feel like an outsider, even in the most crowded of rooms. Conversations felt distant. You began to withdraw, not because you wanted to, but because you realized you couldn't force yourself into places where you no longer belonged. But that isolation, it was never punishment. It was part of your divine path. It was written into your soul contract, a necessary chapter in the story of your awakening. You were hidden on purpose, and though it may have hurt at the time, it was always for your greater good. You were being trained, shaped, and prepared for something far greater than what the world had in mind for you. You needed that space. You needed the silence, because the noise of the world was too loud for you to hear the voice of your soul. The constant distractions, the judgments, the expectations, all of it was drowning out your true calling. So you were pulled into solitude, even if it felt like you were being abandoned. It was in this space, this quiet, often painful solitude, that you would reconnect with yourself. In the stillness, you began to hear what had been there all along, the whispers of your purpose, the pull of something greater, the reminders of the strength you carried deep within. It was only when the world's distractions faded away that you could finally hear what your soul had been trying to tell you, and in those moments of clarity, you started to understand. This isolation wasn't a punishment, it was preparation. In the silence, you learned to rely on yourself. You learned to trust your own instincts and hear the quiet, steady guidance that was always there. You learned the power of being alone, not as something lonely, but as something sacred. It was a time of deep reflection and spiritual growth, where you would shed what no longer served you and step into the fullness of who you were meant to become. Many don't survive this kind of isolation. It's a time that can break people. It's a time where doubt creeps in, where frustration rises, and where the weight of loneliness can feel unbearable. But you didn't break. You endured. You stood strong in the quiet, even when it felt like everything around you was falling apart. That's proof you're chosen. You made it through the hardest part. You survived the moments when you felt like you were fading into the background of life, when it seemed like no one understood. You survived the moments of questioning, of pain, of feeling invisible and unheard, and you came out the other side stronger, more connected to your truth, and more aligned with your soul's calling. This time of isolation wasn't just about being alone. It was about becoming yourself in ways you couldn't have if you'd stayed surrounded by the noise of the world. It was in the solitude that you began to see the bigger picture, that you realized you were never meant to be like everyone else. Chapter 4. Your intuition is the compass. As you awaken, something inside you begins to shift. What once felt like a distant whisper now becomes a clear, steady voice, guiding, nudging, urging. Your intuition sharpens, and with it comes a new level of awareness. You start to feel things before they happen, sensing the subtle energies of the world around you. You can feel the weight of emotions in a room before anyone speaks a word. You can sense when something is off, even when everything looks fine on the surface. It's like a sixth sense, an inner knowing that seems to bypass logic and reason, leading you in ways that don't always make sense to the outside world. People's energy becomes more obvious to you, and you begin to understand them on a deeper level. You feel drained in spaces that aren't authentic and alive in places that resonate with truth. You feel the pull of alignment, like a magnet drawing you closer to where you're meant to be. But this isn't some random coincidence. It's a part of your design. Your soul contract included gifts that many might overlook or dismiss, but these gifts are far from weaknesses. They are your tools, your spiritual sensitivity, your deep empathy, your dreams and visions. These are the keys to unlocking your purpose. They are the compass that keeps you aligned with your true path, especially when the world tries to pull you off course. From the moment you were born, you were equipped with these gifts. They were embedded in your soul to help you navigate the challenges of life and find your way back to who you truly are. Your intuition is the bridge between your higher self and the world around you, guiding you toward what is right for you, even when it seems uncertain or unconventional. When the world tells you to go left, follow the crowd, play it safe, do what's expected, your soul might whisper, go right. It may not always make sense at first. People around you might not understand why you're choosing a different path, but deep down, you know it's the right one. The more you listen, the clearer the voice becomes. It may come through as a gut feeling, a vivid dream, or an unexpected knowing. Sometimes it's a soft voice that cuts through the noise and says, "This is the way." And now, as you continue on your journey, you're learning to trust it. You're learning to follow it, even when your mind and logic try to question it. This is how you walk your path, not by logic alone, but by alignment. Logic has its place, but when it comes to truly living in your purpose, intuition is the guiding force. You're not here to follow the rules the world sets for you. You're here to follow the truth that is embedded within you. Your intuition knows the way, even when it seems like you're walking blind. And the more you listen, the more you'll realize how connected you are to something much greater than yourself. So, when you feel that tug, when you sense that inner knowing, don't ignore it. Don't let doubt creep in and convince you that you're imagining things. Your intuition is the compass that will guide you through the darkness and into the light. Trust it, honor it, and let it lead you to where you are meant to be. Chapter 5. The battles were meant to make you brave. You've walked through storms that would have broken most people. You faced depression that tried to swallow your light, betrayals that shattered your trust, failures that made you question your worth, and moments of deep spiritual warfare where it felt like unseen forces were trying to hold you down. Yet, here you are, still standing, still rising, still becoming. This wasn't by accident. This wasn't luck. It was written into your soul contract, because your journey was never about an easy path. It was about becoming something stronger, something wiser, something unshakable. Your soul carries divine resilience. That's why you've been able to bounce back again and again, even when you didn't think you had the strength. That's why, despite everything that's tried to stop you, something in you just won't quit. That something is your spirit, ancient, powerful, forged in realms beyond this world. Every battle you faced has been part of your spiritual training. It didn't come to destroy you. It came to refine you. It came to strip away illusions and reveal the truth. It made you humble, yes. It softened your heart. It deepened your compassion. But it also awakened your authority. You've come to understand pain, not just as suffering, but as instruction. And in that instruction, you've discovered your strength. You found out who you are, what you're made of, and what you're capable of enduring. And through it all, you didn't just survive, you evolved. You grew into someone with spiritual weight, someone who can walk into a room and change the atmosphere, someone who doesn't just speak about healing, but embodies it. Your wounds have become wisdom. Your past has become purpose. Your scars have become signs, not of defeat, but of victory. You're no longer just healing for yourself. Now you're helping others heal. You're showing others that it's possible to walk through fire and not be consumed. You're living proof that even in the face of darkness, the light inside you cannot be extinguished. The very battles that were meant to break you have now become the foundation of your message. They've become the evidence of your assignment. People don't just hear your words. They feel the truth in them because they know you've lived it. You didn't come out of the battle empty-handed. You came out with power, with perspective, with purpose. And now you walk in a different kind of strength, not loud, not boastful, but unshakable, because you've faced what tried to destroy you, and instead of running, you rose. So if you ever wonder why your path has been so intense, so heavy, so filled with trials, remember this. Warriors don't train on easy ground. They're sharpened in the fire, refined in the struggle, and chosen for the battles most people never even see. You are never being punished. You are being prepared. Chapter 6. You're awakening others by being yourself. Here's the truth. Your soul contract was never just about you. It was always bigger. It was always deeper. Yes, the journey has been personal. The pain has been intimate. And the lessons have been yours to learn. But your growth, your awakening, it's never been just for your own healing. It's about the lives connected to you, the people who are silently watching, the ones who may never say it out loud but feel seen through you. They recognize something in you, a reflection, a resonance, a reminder of something they've buried or forgotten in themselves. You are a mirror, a living message, and as you continue to step boldly into your truth, flaws, scars and all, you unknowingly give others permission to do the same. You're not here to preach or convert. That was never the assignment. You're here to remind, to stir something ancient inside others. Your very presence disrupts comfort zones. Your energy shifts the atmosphere. Your words, sometimes soft, sometimes fierce, carry weight. They awaken. They pierce through the illusions people live under. And even your silence speaks. It makes people question the noise they've been programmed to accept. That's the power of being real. Being yourself is your ministry, and you don't need a stage or a title. You don't need applause or validation. Your existence, aligned, authentic, unapologetic, is the message. You are proof that healing is possible, that freedom is real, and that walking in light after walking through darkness is not only brave, it's contagious. People may not always tell you, but they feel you. They notice your peace in the middle of chaos. They notice how you carry yourself with quiet strength. They sense the depth of your spirit, the kindness in your presence, the resilience in your story. And it makes them wonder what's possible for them. You didn't come here to pretend or to play small. You came to radiate, to live in such a way that your authenticity lights a path others didn't know existed. You came to shake souls awake, not by force, but by example. That's your superpower. You're not trying to be like anyone else, and that's exactly what makes you magnetic. In a world of masks and performances, your raw truth stands out. It challenges, it inspires, it activates. And now, as you continue to walk in your light, your soul contract begins to awaken others, not with noise, not with pressure, but with presence. You're showing people what alignment looks like, what real love, real courage, and real power feels like. So keep being you, loudly, softly, messily, beautifully, because somewhere, someone is waking up just because you did. Chapter 7. Now it's time to fully walk in purpose. You've walked through darkness most will never understand. You've been through the fire, not once, but over and over again. You've faced silent battles, wrestled with unseen forces, cried tears that no one saw, and yet somehow you're still here. Not just surviving, but awakening. You've questioned everything, your worth, your path, your place in this world. You've asked why life had to be so heavy, so lonely, so intense. And still something in you refused to give up. Something deep, ancient, kept whispering, keep going. That voice wasn't just survival instinct. It was your soul remembering. Now you've arrived at a divine intersection, a moment your spirit has been moving toward all along. The soul contract you signed before you were born has brought you here. Every pain, every delay, every detour, it all served a higher plan. And now that plan is unfolding. This is your time. This is your season of remembrance. No more shrinking, no more doubting, no more waiting for permission to be who you already are. You didn't come here to play it safe or hide in the shadows. You didn't come here to keep your light dim just to make others comfortable. You came to lead. You came to heal. You came to shift the atmosphere simply by standing in your truth. Everything you've endured has prepared you to carry what others couldn't. Your gifts are not random. Your voice is not an accident. Your presence is divine. When you speak, something moves. When you show up fully, things change. Not because you're trying to prove anything, but because that's who you are. You were never meant to follow the crowd. You were always meant to ignite something holy, something raw, something that reminds people of their own divinity. Yes, it's been heavy. Yes, it's cost you. But your soul said yes before your first breath. You knew the road would be hard. You knew the nights would be long. But you also knew the power you carried. You knew that within you lived the ability to break generational chains, to awaken sleeping spirits, to stand tall where others fell. And now is the time to walk in it. No more holding back. No more playing small. No more pretending you don't feel what you feel, know what you know, or carry what you carry. You are the answer to someone's prayer. You are the shift in someone's atmosphere. You are the light someone else has been waiting to see. The world doesn't need another imitation. It needs you, fully, authentically, boldly. So step forward, step into alignment, step into your full purpose, because the moment is now, and you are ready.